My name is Silas, and my friends and colleagues know two very important things about me. I'm a conductor, and I love coffee, especially espresso. No matter where I travel in the world, the first thing I try to do is find the best coffee shop and learn about the local coffee drinking habits. If I can, I try to meet up with old friends or make new ones in a coffee shop, of course, so we can talk about life, art, music, or whatever's on our minds. I found that there's no better way to get to know a conductor a little better than by having coffee with the maestro. Today I'm having coffee with Kristin Ditlow, who I met when I was studying a score in a coffee shop in Albuquerque, of all places. Kristin is the assistant professor of vocal coaching at the University of New Mexico, where she's also music director of the Opera Theater. She's on the music staff at the Carmel Bach Festival, and she's the founder and director of Antigua y Moderna, a company that produces Baroque and modern opera. And she loves coffee. That's all I need to know. Good morning, Kristin. How are you?
Good morning, Silas. I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. And I tell my guests right away, like, I haven't seen you in so long. It's so great, but I actually saw you relatively recently, and so it's just nice to see you again so soon.
Yeah, that is nice. Well, we loved having you and Taylor over. I guess it was not very long ago.
Not very long ago. By the way, do you have your coffee beverage, your morning beverage of choice?
I do. So I not only have my espresso that I made, I also thought that's going to be interesting for viewers, which is that I also brought with me, and I can show everyone, this is my camping hand pump.
It looks like some sort of contraband.
It actually looks like the prop from the beginning of the first Austin Powers movie. Yeah. But this has caused me some problems, actually, by the way, going through airports.
Okay.
Where they think it's I don't know what they think. I think they think it's a ride
or something.
But I have to, or some like sex toy.
Who knows? But what is it and how does it work? Because I think I need one.
You absolutely need one for places where the coffee isn't good.
Oh, hi, Kitty.
Yeah, I know. There's the cat. So this makes one shot of espresso. And it's loaded to make a second shot. So I thought I would like, as part of our show, I could show you how it.
Oh, okay.
And at that point I'll take it apart. But you can get them on Amazon. I think you can probably get them at like an REI store or Patagonia store or Cabela's or something, any sort of outdoor place. But my parents, when I go home as often as I can. All my family is on the East Coast. They're in Pennsylvania. And they do not have the same religious beliefs about coffee that I do, and so they have. I think they have a Mr. Coffee under their sink that has been there for like 25 years. So one must bring things one needs. So which is I'm sure it's on one of those trips that I got stopped at the airport and because I carried on only, and then the security guard was What the other thing, by the way, that has tripped up our airport security is my little recording device, my Zoom recording device, I have H5.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I have mine right here.
Yeah, that's yes. And through the airport X-ray machine, they think the cross-haired microphones are a taser.
Oh, I can see that. I mean, for a person who's never seen a recording, right. I mean, it looks like a microphone to me, but okay.
But through the airport security, when they're looking for shapes and contours, actually, the airport security people don't have a job unlike a conductor, right? They're looking at shapes and contours and things like that.
Sure.
But we have to look at a lot more, of course. But so yeah, they usually pull it out.
Yeah, I heard a lot of stories about conductors getting their batons confiscated and all kinds of weird things. I have a fancy wooden baton case that I used to travel with, but it's just it's kind of bulky and only holds 2 batons. So lately I've been resorting, like the last couple of years, I've resorted to just putting them in a PCP. Is that what it's called? PCP pipe? It's not PCP, is it? Yeah. Anyway, the little the plastic pipe, and that looks like an improvised bomb. What?
It's a PVC pipe.
PVC pipe. Yeah, PCP pipe. Where are our heads this morning? Yeah,
I don't know.
PVC pipe. That's what I was trying to say. Anyway, to one of those scanners, PVC pipe looks like an improvised bomb of some sort. So they often pull them out, and then the people get a kick out of it, like, oh wow, that's a baton. Hey, wave it around, show me how it works, and it's always silly.
Yeah.
But I know conductors who have been seriously sidelined or even like detained for a while. And one guest who I've got coming up in a couple of episodes had to show videos. He had to pull out his phone. He was in a foreign country and they really didn't know what he was doing, what conductors did, and he had to pull out a video and show himself conducting in order for them to like let him go.
That's crazy.
He's like, no, really, this is a thing that I do. Watch, look at this video. You can imagine. Did you say you have 5 Zoom devices?
No, okay, so the one I have is called the H5.
Oh, the H5.
The H5.
Okay.
So, and my husband has one as well. We recently sold our H4.
Okay.
And then I have, and then as we've been talking, I've got a whole bunch of, one of the things I've been learning in quarantine is more audio, video, tech stuff. Sort of, what's the phrase? Necessity is the mother of invention. So in this case, necessity was the mother of a lot of lessons learned fast. Because at least, I mean, the idea of guiding the ship somehow about how we're guiding our own music making, that's always been really curious to me. And when I've been part of the CD, like a commercial release, a CD making process, at this point in my life, only as a pianist, I haven't done anything like that as a conductor. But seeing what the engineers have to do, microphone placement, which microphones are they using, which software are they using, and then seeing, to be honest, sometimes some of them can read and mark a score incredibly well, and then others of them, and it was the latter, the group of, and I just thought, my goodness, I might not have the mic placement and editing skills yet that maybe some other editors do, but I thought, I have the score marking skills. Like I can navigate where I want splices to begin and end and all of those things. I thought the rest is more mechanics that I can probably learn. And we've all got all this time now.
Right.
We have, right. We're not doing the normal battery of traveling we're doing. And even I was just thinking, I mean, my commute to school is very modest, actually. Like it's a 10-mile drive and then a walk, but it's 30 minutes each way safely, right? So, from March to now, no commute.
Yeah.
So that's 20 hours a month.
Wow. I guess I never thought of it like that. I was thinking, I thought of it 30 minutes each way. That's an hour a day. Yeah, 20 hours is a ton of time.
That's a lot of time, right? I mean, that's like a whole score learned well. Or I mean, maybe not an opera score or something, but like that's a piece of music learned well, either as a pianist or a conductor, like seriously studied. And
yeah. Well, I hate to say like it's great, we got all this time, because it's not great. Everybody's miserable and wants to get back to doing the thing they do, and I hate not seeing musicians in person. As I just told you at the beginning, I tried to get together with musicians earlier in the summer, and after a couple of days it went poorly, so we all disbanded, and it's a bummer. But you're missing. I think you're probably missing making music with musicians a lot, because you had a big summer planned. Yeah.
I mean, I was supposed to have been in Carmel Bach Festival on their music staff, and then I had also gotten an invitation, and we were actually sort of in the middle of figuring out how I was going to possibly be able to do both. I had gotten an invitation to conduct it up at Steamboat Springs.
Oh.
It would have been a new opera, which is super exciting to me.
Yeah.
And then everything went, before. So we were just in the process of, well, when could you come for a rehearsal, and then you could then come to Colorado for good on this day. Like, we're just sort of talking about all of those things. and 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 then COVID and COVID happened. So so it was to have been a pretty meaty 6 or 7 weeks kind of in the middle of the summer. And then that turned it turned into some other things actually. My husband and I, my husband is also a conductor and a musician, pardon me, and we did the Medomic Conductors Retreat, which was all online.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really wonderful. And it was also fun to see, like, if we were in the same sort of breakout conducting class, I would be in my room and he would be in his room. And I would see him on the internet, but I would see him conduct part of a Brahms symphony or part of a Beethoven symphony. And then he would, and I'm being too loud.
And there he is. His ears are burning.
Yeah. But that was great to do together. And then for a lot of the lectures, because the lectures were timed for Eastern time and we're in Mountain time, so we're 2 hours behind, they would often be during kind of our lunchtime, whatever. So so we would sit and eat lunch and have a computer on and watch the talk or watch the lecture and learn and then talk about it afterwards. That was all. It's really interesting and fun, and something that I think a lot of people should look at doing at some point if they haven't. And the idea also of a retreat as opposed to like a boot camp where it's it seems like with the latter there's not a lot of time for reflection. You're just there to take in all the instruction and then produce a final concert or a final movement of something, and all of that is incredibly important. But the fact that they were able to do anything at all this summer, that it was virtual, that it was free, was just that was amazing. Oh my God, that is in the background.
Yeah, and this year is proving that, like you said, necessity is the mother of invention. And this year is proving that there are lots of different ways to do education in general online. I started seeing like these virtual master classes and things announced early on, maybe in April and May, and I was pretty pessimistic about it. I thought, well, you can't really learn how to conduct online. You just can't. But organizations are finding a way to put out good information and good training and have good conversations and score study. And no, you're not able to hold a baton and stand in front of a group of live musicians, but there's lots of other things you can do. And so it's been really interesting for me to see that. I haven't taken part in too many. I've watched a couple of score study sessions that the Conductors Guild put out, and then I've had a lot of one-on-one talks with mentors and students as well. But it's really interesting. I like what you said about how the retreat idea was appealing to you, because I'm a big fan of all styles of conducting workshops. And then when you're younger or in your formative years, of course, those boot camps where you're learning 15 pieces a week and you're just constantly overwhelmed and you're not sleeping, and those are intense and they're really good for maybe not for us now, but for someone who's just kind of trying to grasp all the repertoire and learn all the symphonies. Those are really useful. But I'm into retreats now because I find that I have a pretty okay grasp on the basic repertoire, and sometimes I just want to go sit and be quiet somewhere beautiful for 2 weeks and just study and just dive deep, and gotten some of that this summer. Sounds like you have too.
Yeah, that's actually been, I think sometimes then when you don't have, I think it's a double-sided coin, right? Because when you don't have a deadline and you're on your own to sort of say, well, I'm going to do this today. Well, it actually doesn't really matter if you say, well, I'm going to do it today, and then today turns into tomorrow. And then you just get the ball kind of kicked further down the field. But it's been, I think it's been good. And it reminds me actually of a story I believe I heard about the conductor Celibidache. I may be pronouncing his name incorrectly, where he took, I want to say he took time off of his conducting career, like quit and went and meditated for years. I want to say, like, quit everything because he told his agent no more gigs, nothing. And then he went away for a while. He just didn't conduct anything. He didn't rehearse. He didn't conduct. He didn't take any scores. He just went and meditated somewhere. I will look this up later. I should have looked this up before coming on the air. I didn't know I was going to be talking about this.
I think that would be amazing if A, you could afford to do that, and then B, you knew that when you came back you're going to have work, which I think Celibidache probably was okay in both those categories.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so after his time on the mountain or wherever he went, I don't know, he was even more in demand than when he went away in the first place.
Incredible.
Which is totally amazing. Okay, so I'm going to show you how this works now. I've never done this one-handed, and I've never done it on camera, but I think I can do it. So,
okay.
Espresso shot, and then you just pump.
Okay.
So it's a hand pump. I'll take it apart.
Okay, yeah, I need to see it taken apart. Is it hot?
Yes. So you put. You mean to touch? No.
No. I mean, is the coffee hot, or are you just pumping cold water? Oh, okay.
No. I would not. But I have to put it down here and squeeze out the end.
Well, I understand that there are some lunatics in the world that drink their coffee cold. So.
It's cold brew. No. It's. I did not drink coffee at all until I was just finished undergraduate, and I was in Italy for the summer studying. And a friend of mine, and it was, I don't remember what time it was. We had finished morning practice, morning Italian lessons, and then we went to the piazza in the town where we were. And they asked me what kind of coffee I would be having. I was like, oh, I don't drink coffee. I know, right? Anyone who knows me now is like, what is this? So they said, what? They said, you'd love it. I said, no, I don't, never really had a taste for it. So I got through all of a degree at Oberlin, not having a drop of coffee, which I think is a miracle. I got through it.
Sounds crazy, but me too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so we were on this piazza, and the person ordered a cappuccino, and I said, well, what is that? And they said, well, it's coffee and there's like nice like frothy milk in it. And I was like, I'll try that. So I said, do it. And I said, bring another one. Mm-hmm. So they bring them, and then I think I took a sip, and the heavens kind of opened up, and it's been like. That was my gateway drug. Was a cappuccino in the middle of. We were in Emilia Romagna at the time, which is a little town just outside of Parma.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of coffee.
Okay.
This is 4 parts. So you have the bottom here is where you put hot water. You have to get the water must be boiling before you put it in. So it can't just be water out of the tap. You have to get it hot enough. So we have an electric tea kettle.
Okay.
And then that goes in here. In the top part, here I just got some coffee all over a score, which is...
It gives the score a lot of character.
Oh, yeah. I have lots of scores with characters.
Yeah.
Library. And then this is the top where you put... So it's the pressurized pump. And then you also put a shot of espresso here in the little...
Okay, yeah, nice.
Ground coffee. And then you put this, and then you put it, you screw it onto the top. And then to make the shot, you turn it, so remember the water reservoir is here, and the espresso's here. You turn it upside down. And then you have, and the end result is and then
it's wonderful. I see there's a beautiful crema on top of it and everything. Wow.
Oh, it's good. It's really good. So my husband and I just took a retreat of sort. I mean, we went up to Colorado, and then over to some of the Utah parks, and then a quick, very very quick stay in Arizona just for a night, and then home. My aunt and uncle have a place in Frisco that they and they're in the medical profession, but they have also a place in Delaware that they're at in the summer. So so we went up and stayed, essentially stayed on them for free, which which was fantastic.
Nice.
And we just did lots of hiking. We went to a beautiful waterfall one day to hike, and we did Rocky Mountain National Park another day,
Yeah.
which was amazing.
Yeah.
And then they also live on a reservoir, so we did some kayaking. That was all great. And then we took off from there, headed west into Utah, and then did Canyonlands, Arches, Capitol Reef, and Bryce Canyon parks. And then a quick trip home from Bryce through Page, Arizona, which was basically on the way, and then back to Albuquerque. So it was, for all of us musicians we are inside animals. I would say classical musicians are, right? I mean, for really acoustic reasons, string instruments don't really like going outside. Pianos are not good outside. They're not good outside.
Hard to travel with, yeah.
No, and harpsichords are even worse. I mean, maybe they're a little easier to travel with in terms of weight, but in terms of weather, and amplification, they're terrible outside. So musicians were inside animals, and it was so nice to be outside every day, and I felt like I got to be a whole different person. Like I got to put sunscreen on early. I have to wear a lot of sunscreen. So put lots of sunscreen on every morning, and wear a baseball cap every day, which is not usually how I'm dressed to work.
Yeah.
And go outside and spend all this time with my husband. And so it was so nice. And also because of COVID, I know you said every conversation kind of turns to COVID. Yeah. There aren't a lot of international tourists right now in the United States. They're not wanting, or they're not able to come right now.
Sure.
So what that meant was that the parks were very empty, which was great for distancing, and that was also just great from a traffic perspective, and you could always find parking if you wanted to pull off and then do because all of these amazing, and the national park system that we have in the U.S. I think it's remarkable.
Yeah.
It's remarkable that it exists, and that all of these lands have been preserved, and they're all very different. I had the opera company is also in the process of coming back, but there's a gig I had several years in a row up in Montana, up in Bozeman, which is an hour and a half from Yellowstone, and so I've been to Yellowstone a couple of times, and every time you go, it's a different park.
Oh.
If you go if you go in the spring and then you go in the fall, you see different things. If you see different, the plants look different. The animals, there's different animals out that you can see. So on our trip, we saw on this past trip, we saw elk, moose, deer, bears, also birds. We saw 4 wild horses running on the road behind our car that was on the drive from Capitol Reef to Bryce. We were stopped by 4 kind of Palomino pony. I mean, I don't know what they were, but they were out there having a good time, but they were running in the middle on the yellow line of a 2-lane.
Wow.
road, running down the road with no leash and no GPS. And
I didn't even know that wild horses was still a thing, but apparently it is.
They are.
Wow. I love that. I haven't been to Utah in a long time now, but I go to Estes Park since I discovered Colorado a few years ago when I moved there. I go to Estes Park every spring for a retreat. Speaking of retreats, I just go rent a place up there, and I do it mostly by myself, although last year Taylor went with me and enjoyed that retreat with me. But yeah, there in the parking lot of the place where I stay, you wake up every morning, you have no idea what kind of animal is going to be out there. So you look out one morning, there's like a pack, I don't know what they're called, a pack or a flock of wild turkeys. I guess they're a flock because they're birds. But there's 20 wild turkeys there, and then you just look out the window 20 minutes later, and there's a couple of elk standing out there. And it's amazing to see all these wild animals. And then, of course, when you're out hiking, you don't really want to run into a snake or a bear, but you do sometimes. And I think it's amazing to see. I don't want to take up all your time, but I wanted to ask you one more thing that's a little bit off topic of music and stuff. But so your husband, so John, your husband is a relatively new American citizen.
Yes.
But I imagine when you say you were driving through Utah and all these beautiful places, that it's the first time he's been there. Am I right? And so what did I always wonder, what does a person, from another country think the first time you drive them to, say, Arches National Park, for example?
Well, he loved it. My husband is a wonderful match for me, and I for him, I think, in every way. And one of the things is that we're both very curious about stuff. So for the trip we just took, it was basically, I mean, we had been up to Frisco before to visit my relatives, but we hadn't been to Rocky Mountain National. I hadn't been to Utah before, except to the Salt Lake City airport. And it's so beautiful. Oh my goodness.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And so so when we were driving through, and it's also interesting because, for example, Canyonlands and Arches, they're both near a small town called Moab.
Yeah.
So you think, oh, they're kind of the same park. They're actually very different.
Totally.
But they're accessible kind of via the same route. They're relatively close to each other. I mean, you could do both of them in one. You're hustling, but you can do parts of Canyonlands and then Arches in one day, which is what we did.
Yeah.
But he commented that some of it looked like parts of China that no one goes to.
Right.
Where, some of the forests and some of the mountains and things like that. But then I think the deep red, this rich red where you feel like you're just walking around on the surface of Mars, which is what Arches kind of, with these, like, it looks like somebody made drip castles that are out of red sand, and then they're petrified, and then they, and they're just there. But I think also seeing these vistas, it reminds me a little bit of now you can see, I think, like what some of the American composers that we celebrate so much, what they were seeing and feeling when they were writing. So something like Aaron Copland's, some of his scores, so the ballets and some of the symphonies, or even Bernstein, or even some of these great film composers, where there's a film score that I'm reminded of. I think it's by Elmer Bernstein, called The Magnificent Seven. And I know it because when I was buying my stereo 20 years ago, it was what Best Buy used as its demo score. And it's actually, the score is great. It's fantastic music, but it's kind of an old Western kind of a movie. But so to answer your question, I mean, John loved it, and he takes really beautiful pictures with his iPhone, which seems like, well, can't we all do that? I mean, he's really very good at it. And he's also very good at taking selfies. So we've got all these pictures now of different self shots of the two of us with very interesting backgrounds.
Yeah.
And also, this was his first time. We did like sort of the bottom level pony ride option at Bryce Canyon. So there's different options at different price points of how long you're on the horse or whatever, and where you go. But we did one where we start at kind of a ranch, and then you walk through a meadow. You walk along the rim of the canyon, but you don't go into the canyon, and then you continue back.
Oh.
And John had never been on a horse before. He
Wow.
He had never been on a horse before. So,
well, I'm not far behind him. I think I've been on a horse twice in my life, but I can barely remember both times. And I think I might be kind of shocked to find myself on a horse now. So I guess he was.
No, but he did a great job. His horse, they don't give you race horses at these.
Yeah, of course.
There's they're kind of older, retired, kind of semi-retired.
Yeah. Older
horses. Most of the time, very calm, very used to riders on them who have no idea what they're doing. So the horse is just once the horses all got lined up at the corral, then they just go. They know the path. They know how fast to go. So it's it's kind of, I wouldn't say foolproof, but they've got, the horses are well trained, and they know what they're, very like orchestra musicians. Am I right? No.
I guess so. Yeah. The horses are like, I don't even care if there's anyone driving me. I know what to do. I've done this before. That's an analogy I haven't heard before, but yeah, I think you're not wrong about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I hope I get to see you again soon. I might be back in Albuquerque in 6 weeks or so. So maybe I'll see you then. We'll see how the COVID unfolds a little bit. But thanks for having coffee with me this morning.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I will just say goodbye.
All right.